sleep at last a little before midnight, in spite of the excitement over the spacious rooms and who should have which. Think of it! 30 rooms in the house, and every one as pretty as every other one. What luxury! And nobody to occupy them but themselves. Carol could hardly get to sleep. She felt as if she had dropped into a novel and was living it. When Graham came out of his room the next morning the salt breeze swept invitingly through the hall and showed him the big front door of the upper piazza open and someone standing in the sunlight with light glowing garments gazing at the sea in rapt enjoyment. Coming out softly, he saw that it was Shirley dressed in white, with a ribbon of blue at her waist and a soft pink color in her cheeks, looking off to sea. He stood for a moment to enjoy the picture, and said in his heart that sometime, if he got his wish, he would have her painted so by some great artist, with just that little simple white dress and blue ribbon, her round white arm lifted, her small hand shading her eyes, the sunlight burnishing her brown hair into gold. He could scarcely refrain from going to her and telling her how beautiful she was. But when he stepped quietly up beside her only his eyes spoke, and brought the color deeper into her cheeks. And so they stood for some minutes looking together and drawing in the wonder of God's sea. " This is the first time I've seen it, you know," spoke Shirley at last, " and I'm so glad it was on Sunday morning. It will always make the day seem more holy and the sea more wonderful to think about. I like best things to happen on Sunday, don't you? Because that is the best day of all." Graham looked at the sparkling sea, all azure and pearls, realized the Sabbath quiet, and marveled at the beauty of the soul of the girl, even as her feeling about it all seemed to enter into and become a part of himself. " Yes, I do," said he. " I never did before, but I do now. And always shall," he added under his breath. That was almost as wonderful a Sabbath as the one they had spent in the woods a couple of weeks before. They walked and talked by the sea, and they went to a little Episcopal chapel where the windows stood open for the chanting of the waves and the salt of the breeze to come in freely, and then they went out and walked by the sea again. Wherever they went, whether resting in some of the many big rockers on the broad verandas, or walking on the hard smooth sand, or sitting in some cozy nook by the waves, they felt the same deep sympathy, the same conviction that their thoughts were one, the same wonderful thrill of the day and each other's nearness. Somehow in this new environment Shirley forgot for a little that this young man was not of her world, that he was probably going back soon to the city to enter into a whirl of the winter season in society, that other girls would claim his smiles and attentions and she would likely be forgotten. She lost the sense of it entirely, and companioned with him as joyously as if there had never been anything to separate them. Her mother, looking on, sighed, feared, smiled, and sighed again. They walked together in the sweet darkness beside the waves that evening, and he told her how when he was a little boy he wanted to climb up to the stars and find God, but later how he thought the stars and God were myths like Santa Claus, and that the stars were only electric lights put up by men and lighted from a great switch every night, and when they didn't shine somebody had forgotten to light them. He told her many things about himself that he had never told to anyone before, and she opened her shy heart to him, too. Then they planned what they would do next week when he came back. He told her he must go back to the city in the morning to see his father and mother off and attend to a few matters of business at the office. It might be 2 or 3 days before he could return, but after that he was coming down to take a little vacation himself if she didn't mind, and they would do a lot of delightful things together, row, fish, go crabbing, and he would teach her to swim and show her all the walks and favorite places where he used to go as a boy. Reluctantly they went in, his fingers lingering about hers for just a second at the door, vibrating those mysterious heartstrings of hers again, swiping dearest music from them, and frightening her with joy that took her half the night to put down. Chapter 21